that the family, my family and friends still go to the site all the time and they want to purchase stuff. But whenever I can, whenever I see that come through, I try to drop them a little something extra in there.
And you have to, because I it's an honor if someone trusts me with their health, with with their goals, their fitness, like with their family. What we have a saying here is our job, forget everything else. Our only job is to earn your direct endorsement. So you send your mother, your wife, and your daughter to us. I don't care how much we make. But if every single person we work with, if they're like, mom, like you gotta contact Stronger Supplements or Dolce or sweetie or daughter, like you got to deal with them because we're honorable, right? We have a great, value proposition to give you. We do what we say in a manner that has integrity. Like it's a safe relationship. So whether I'm in the gym personal training someone or whatever, sending them a bottle of fat burners. It's got to be the same thing. Otherwise, what's the point? And everything I do, I kind of see it through the lens of my own family. I'm in a house full. I'm the only male in my entire house, right? Two daughters, even my daughter's fish is a girl, right? I understand that. And that's the trust, that's the barrier that we're always competing to overcome is how honorable can we be? Like, what's that value proposition? How well can we serve the community? And then if we have a decent product at the right price, well, hopefully then we've earned their trust. So to your point, anytime an order comes through, I'm like, oh my God, like that's so awesome. Like they trusted us. Now we really now we have to go above and beyond and give them even more to validate the trust that they gave us. So again, that's the way we're really pushing over here.
I love it. And, everybody stay tuned here because Mike and I are going to rip our shirts off and we're going to get into a giant fist fight over diet and nutrition and stuff like that. For Mike and I to fight, it's actually impossible because we're brothers, I think, in some way. He's East Coast, I'm East Coast, and we seem to have a kinship and we seem to have like a rapport that just kind of goes beyond, your typical person that I know in the fitness industry. You and I just seem to like get along well. You seem like a long lost friend in some way. But if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit more about Stronger before we get into talking about the sugar diet and what a bunch of bullshit it is.
Bullshit. Yeah. All right. So, and I appreciate the opportunity. So, very briefly, Stronger Supplements was born out of my deep frustration with the supplement industry. I've been working for 30 years at the highest level of sports, started with NCAA athletes back in the 90s, and then Team Henzo Gracie in the 90s, turn of 2000s, when their athletes were competing over in Japan and Pancrase. And then inside the UFC, I was working with UFC athletes before Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta even bought the UFC. I've been at this for a really long time at the highest level. And over the years, I saw a problem with supplements. Now, I'm a whole food guy, which is why we're going to talk about the sugar diet. Whole food first, lifestyle first, before supplements, before medical intervention, before all of that. But eventually, we do need some sort of supplementation to assist us, especially when we're trying to achieve higher level goals. Now, with the advent of USADA inside the UFC, we saw a lot of athletes getting busted, failing drug tests for taking like a vegan protein powder, which is insane. And I remember back, in the 90s, I remember, Dan Duchesne, like I used to be pen pals with, I used to ask him so many questions. Like it was so cool. I'm trying to find those letters now, which I think would be great for whatever content down the road. Maybe I can't disclose some of the conversations we had, but anyway, but I remember the supplements, like his Ultimate Orange. And then like the Russian sickle, like the Red Bull, whatever that was, like these things were all doped up. We didn't know, right? I remember I went to a gym and the gym owner sold me a little bar. What's that?
It was the Russian bear.
Russian
on the
bear.
back of some of those bodybuilding magazines.
Brother, so it's like we came up in that industry. Now I don't know if I'll say I managed the GNC in the late night, like right out of high school and those like early, kind of like transitional years. I was working at one, I managed one, I was in there like, executive training program. I was behind the scenes on supplement manufacturing. So I have a lot of, kind of white collar experience in education, but also I understood how bad it was. So over the years, I became well known for working with these elite athletes. I was like, you can't take any supplements. And it was so hard to do. Even some of the certified supplements are a little fugazi because they don't have doping agents in there, but they're diluted. So they don't have the active ingredients based upon the clinical effective dosages. So now they're just taking expensive, sugar powder, if you will. So we can't rely on that stuff. So as we fast forward, I did 2 endorsement licensing deals of my product called the Dolce Way, which was ahead of its time. We're going back 10 years. It was a grass-fed whey protein isolate, 100% all natural. That wasn't really out there. I did a licensing deal and I got screwed over twice by 2 very well-known companies. I won't mention them. And I'm like, I got a lawyer on retainer. I need him to be busy. I'm getting charged every month and I'm not giving him enough work even. I'm like, I have a decent platform and these companies are screwing me and they can get away with it. What are they doing to the end consumer? So after like 2 years of me just kind of being mad and yelling at the sky, I woke up one day and I said, I can either complain about it or I can do something about it. And that's where we launched Stronger Supplements. Over a year or so now, I filed the paperwork, the articles of incorporation. I mean, I got 20 different proprietary formulas and we won't push anything that's proprietary, full disclosure. But Stronger Supplements is 100% all natural, evidence-based, clinically dosed, 0 synthetics ever. We will never put out a product that is not 100% scientifically validated with exactly the clinical dosing of those pure form ingredients. Otherwise, why do it? We're not a Me Too company. We are an alternative to people who care about what they put into their body and they demand results. So I picture my elite athletes, some of which are on the wall behind me, or I picture my wife and my daughters. Will this help them thread that needle and win a world title, or will this keep my wife and my daughters safe? Like that's the 2 muses I have when we formulate, when we come out with products. So we're new. With September as we kind of soft launch. We're soft launching now. We have 2 SKUs of whey protein, an organic vanilla, organic chocolate. We have our 4-phase fat burner, which is burn rate, which is based upon what I was sourcing while working with the UFC athletes for weight cuts. Like it's this all-in-one herbal diuretic and fat burner. We have a creatine, just like a micronized creatine, which is a commodity. We sell it for almost break even because it's a race to the bottom with creatine, right? It's like you just want to buy the cheapest one. And so we have ours priced at basically lose money on the creatine, but it's the highest quality. And then we have about 5 other products coming out, hopefully in the next 6 months, maybe in the next 9 months. And that's it. So thank you for the spiel. That's what Stronger is. We're here to just help people live better lives. No gimmicks, no BS, just pure results.
When it comes to nutrition, you've seen a lot of diets come and go. And then you're like, well, they just seems like people end up coming back your way or they come full circle and they start to recognize that maybe like a whole food diet, and maybe one person eats a little less carbs than another. Maybe one person chooses to eat a little bit more fat than another. But that's the basis of your nutrition, is that you're not really excluding any macronutrients. I don't think you're demonizing any food. No. I know for yourself, you like to keep yourself strict because you had that story about like the Kit Kat that traveled the world with you, and you didn't eat it. But can you just explain some of your diet and how you landed on your principles and how you've been able to kind of thwart off, a ketogenic diet, a carnivore diet, sugar diet, and so forth?
Yes, and very briefly now, the Dolce diet is a whole food approach to optimal long-term health and wellness with the immediate short-term athletic and aesthetic performance improvements, right? I get paid to help the world's greatest athletes win tens of millions of dollars and literally become the best in the world. So that's a short-term goal. But our founding principle is everything we do today must extend their health and wellness over the decades to come. Now, in sport, we can take a shortcut, get across the finish line first, but the next decade might be pretty freaking iffy, right? We wiped that away. And what we did, we focused on longevity principles. And this goes back to my own health. I was 282 pounds as a competitive amateur powerlifter, never at your level, but using the Louis. I used to get on the phone with Louis like a lot of the other guys, and I was doing the West Side, and I was following Dave, Tate, and Wendler on the websites and the blogs, and I was active, man. And so I ate my way up without drugs to 282 pounds, right? I mean, fucking big, triple extra large t-shirt in my mid-20s. I was like, man, I'm so strong. Like I blew out my shoulders as in wrestling, and I couldn't traditional bench press. So I went Anthony Clark underhand, and I hit a 535 with an underhand bench press in a single poly t-shirt. I was not a good bench presser, but damn, I got strong for my genetics. But I got fat, bro. Fat. Now, my dad had a stroke and a heart attack, which wound up taking his life. As a little kid, I was in and out of hospital and hospice, and I kind of watched my big, strong father, who was a thoroughbred racehorse trainer. I grew up on a racetrack in the bar, watching my father train these elite athletes and sitting in saunas with the jockeys cutting weight. Like, put me on a Sigmund Freud's couch or Carl Jung, and you can kind of like realize why I'm here today doing what I'm doing, right? Literally, I was like bred to do what I'm doing in a very real way. Saw my father go through this. He just kind of fell apart and wound up unfortunately passing. And I'm kind of following in the same footsteps health-wise. So I'm in his same doctor, little Dr. Lau, this 98-pound Asian lady. She's like 5'1" in heels. And I'm 282 pounds, mid-20s, just fucking jacked, 22.5-inch neck, like monster. She comes like, looking at my notes, and she starts pounding me in the chest. She's like, what are you doing? You are a stupid little boy. Like, this is like, you're worse than your father, because she saw my father die. And I was like, whoa, what do you know about that? I'm young, like I'm fine. And I remember driving home, and all the big guys know, I'm driving home and I'm like holding my gut with like one hand, right? And I'm driving with the other hand. I realized like, what the fuck am I doing? What for a plastic trophy with my mom and my girlfriend and like every other, it's moms and girlfriends in the audience. Nobody else is there. For a plastic trophy, I'm like, what am I doing? And in that moment, now I'm already coaching elite athletes because I know better. I'm just not doing it myself. I'm thinking, get across the finish line first, hit an 800-pound competition squat, 3 white lights, bench 550, maybe 600. This is what I'm thinking. I got to be a super heavyweight. Who is it? You got to beat the man to out-eat them. To beat the man, you got to out-eat the man. With the right. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Well, anyway, let's blow all that up. So driving home from Dr. Lau's office, I realized this isn't going to work. This is going to kill me. What am I doing? And I already had the knowledge of longevity science, and I doubled that. From that day forward, I doubled down into longevity science, and that's where our Living Lean program was built. And that's one of our best-selling books and product lines, Living Lean. That's where it was built. How I went from 282 pounds as a competitive powerlifter down to 169 pounds as a professional mixed martial artist. Like I set the fastest record or fastest knockout record in the IFL. I was on the Ultimate Fighter TV show. I was like I fought well above my genetics, right? But I got to that level. I lost 112 pounds and then went to the UFC. This is all nutrition driven. And it's all lifestyle driven. And that's kind of how the ethos built. Now, I have an awesome team. We have registered dietitians and like all this stuff. I'm the only person on my team that doesn't have an advanced degree or master's degree. And I laugh because I pay everybody's salary. But I'm the least educated of the crew, but I think I'm the best in the world at it. And I have the resume. When you look at other PhDs and medical doctors and dietitians and other entities who've tried to do what I do inside the world of elite sports, nobody has amassed my resume and my record. Nobody has done what I've done. And many said, well, it's not possible. What Dolce says is wrong, but I'm the only one with a 100% success ratio for over 25 years, bringing elite athletes to the scale, on weight, on time, every single time, and never a health issue, never a health crisis. Nobody else, well, no one with my tenure, my record in the sport can say that. Most crash and burn within the first few clients, first few years. I'm going to be knocking on 30 years of working with elite athletes, talking about the wrestlers, because of these principles, Mark. And this is like why I'm so passionate about the whole food approach and avoiding a lot of the come and go fads. And we're going to get into that stuff now. So there's some resume, some big picture, single ingredient, healthful, whole food eaten in moderation relative to activity level. focused on digestion. That's what we need to worry about based upon what your short and longer term goals are. What are we trying to do? Powerlifting competition, CrossFit, marathon? Cool. That's where we can adjust the macros a little bit, but the principles do not change. So I'll shut up. I do talk long. Sorry.
Oh no, that was perfect. I think just trying to paint a picture for people just so they understand your history and they understand some of the things that you've already done. When it comes to the sugar diet, I think, unfortunately, when a keto diet comes along or a carnivore diet comes along, there's different ways that people share out the information. Back when it was keto, there was people like dumping coconut oil all over stuff or cooking things in tons of butter. And there's different ways to do it, and there's healthier versions of it. And the same thing goes for the sugar diet, sugar fasting. You just see like a lot of candy. I myself will post a little bit of candy here and there just because it's something that you can have while you're doing it. But I am promoting whole foods. I am promoting like people to eat whole fruit, people to have smoothies and stuff like that. And the basics of the way that I do it, and then we can kind of go back and forth here, is that I will maybe spend a day or two sugar fasting, and I basically will run off of fruit juice, honey, maple syrup, that type of thing. And yes, there might be some candy in there. I might dump a little sugar on some fruit or something like that. But the primary focus is mainly just fruit. And by taking in some of that fructose and stuff like that, you're giving your body a good supply of energy. And when you're eating fruits, there's some volume to it as well. So you have a little bit of volume from the size of the food, such as like something like watermelon, which will go a long way, but doesn't have a lot of calories. And then you have the other side of it where there's like density of the food, where there's like good amounts of sugar in there with something like honey. So I can kind of pick and choose how much energy I want or how much volume I want to kind of take up space in my gut. And by doing this intermittently, I think that's really important to know, is that I'm not doing that in perpetuity. I'm not doing that for weeks on end. I do know that there's people that are really heavy who've done juiced fasts, and they've just had smoothies, day in, day out for 100 days, and they lost 100 pounds and so forth. But there's very few people who can have any sort of adherence to that. That's very difficult to do. Much like a zero carb diet or much like some of these other diets, the adherence is what sucks. For this diet, I've noticed that the adherence, it feels pretty comfortable for me because it's done intermittently. And then when I break the sugar fast, I do so with some lean meat, vegetables, potato, rice, starch, something like that. So when you look at the diet, if you and I were just to lay it out like over the month, you would look at the macros, and the macros would be fairly balanced. And if we were to look at the food, you'd be like, well, it's a little off kilter here. You have like more sugar than maybe you would like to see. But overall, it's like there's a good amount of fiber, there's a good amount of this, good amount of that. So that is the way that I like to do the sugar fasting. But there's people out there who are like, interpreting it in a much different way. And they're like, oh, candy. And you mentioned you saw somebody like eating cotton candy and talking about it. And that's not real. Those foods don't have nutrients in them. And when we don't have the correct nutrients in our body, whether it's a micronutrient or particulars of macronutrients, you're going to make yourself hungry, and you're probably going to end up in a binge, or you might just be deficient in something that could lead to other negative health outcomes based off of that.
Yeah. So let's talk about where we agree first. Well, whole foods, right? A balanced macronutrient intake over time. Yes. Now, where we disagree is, I would say, the inclusion of synthetics, because synthetics cause an inflammatory response that is individual based upon the physiology of that unique human, as they are today, but as they might be down the road. Now, every human has their own unique health issues, and I say landmines that their ancestors implanted in them. The more synthetics they consume, and now with the Robert Kennedy MAHA movement, we see a lot more talk about synthetics and eliminating synthetics from foods. Now, I'll toot my own horn. I've been saying this for 20 years, and I have been blasted by many of the, quote, PhDs out there who talked about the FDA and the generally recognized as safe, and sucralose is fine, and acesulfame potassium, and red 30, 40, blue, no, that's fine, and because it's only in such doses. No, it's not fine. You might be able to get away with it short term, but we understand the inflammatory response that it will initiate. What the downstream result will be, we don't know. And this is really where I like to pause. Now, let's just back up even further.
Because I interrupt just for a second. Just say I totally 100% agree with you. Like, we have to always understand that better is better, you know, and we're not going to demonize somebody. We're not going to like throw them in jail if they eat a donut or something like that. But, you know, better is better. And so the more you can stick to natural foods, the better off you're going to be. And we can sit here and argue over like pesticides and like whatever else, but you're just trying to do the absolute best that you possibly can.
100%. And that's where we agree. Then to do that, well, what would be the best is my interpretation. To do the best, to be our best, to live the best in the long term and the short term is to normalize a multi-meal feeding cadence of single ingredient, healthful, whole food, avoiding synthetics at all costs. Now, I don't know of any science that will refute that. And when I say this, you know, we've looked into evolutionary biology, and we're well aware of, you know, maybe 2 million or so years ago, you know, kind of, you know, our most common ancestors walking the earth. Maybe 200 to 500, let's say 300,000 years or so ago, you know, humans as we are today was walking the earth. I only say this because we have a very, very, very good data set of optimal nutrition for humans and for evolution. Like, and Mark, and everyone listening, there is absolutely nothing new in the world of nutrition. There's no new findings, no new research. The only thing that we're hearing is maybe we're understanding mechanisms, but we're not finding anything that's new, because we've been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, and we have recorded history of this. We're very well aware once again. So when I say this, I've been doing this long enough to get through the complex phase in the early years, and whatever, you know, kind of you call that curve. I'm back to the most simple because I understand the complexities. And now it's about, well, what is the most simple path forward for the greatest amount of humans? Single ingredient, healthful, whole food, multi-meal cadence based upon activity to improve digestive efficacy. We need to hit certain macronutrient, but more important, micronutrient ratios, because we are cellular organisms. What we see here is fake, because if I zoom in with a microscope, I'm not going to see my skin and face anymore. I'm just going to see the combination of every skin cell, and we go deeper, and there's more cells and tissue cells and blood, and we keep going. We see the cells. We no longer see these kind of calorie macro beings anymore. I don't care about the being. I care about the cells. So when I'm thinking about the cells, I'm thinking about when we consume synthetics, where do those synthetics go? Those synthetics then go to the cells, and those cells have a dysfunction as a result of that. So that's why I'm a purist. I'm going to say, hey, if we're going to, quote, sugar fast, okay, why would we include any synthetics? And, you know, and I hear what you're saying, but there's many other people. And I'll you know, we'll talk about him maybe in a moment, but I'll throw the name Cole Robinson out there, who is kind of like maybe the catalyst of the common sugar diet craze. Well, in my mind, Cole is a charlatan and a con man, in my opinion. And when you look at his social media, Cole has been gaining and losing the same 30 pounds for over 5 years. I have screenshots of his before and afters, some of which are the exact same before photo. And I ask you, how does Cole go from being shredded in single-digit body fat to a few months later being all fat again so it can show his next before and after? His page is riddled with his own befores and afters claiming snake diet and snake juice. And then, likely because that fad was failing, he recreated himself with the sugar diet. So when I think about the origins, I think about the motivation, and the guy who really kind of fanned the flames seems to just be like Liver King trying to get back into the algorithm with something that is sensational. So on its basis at all, we look at Cole Robinson, and everyone watching, go to his Instagram page right now And look at all his own before and afters. How do you gain, and if your diet works so well? Like, I've been this lean for half a decade, almost a decade. I've been within 2 to 3% body fat, high or low, of 11%, 10% for most of my adult life. I can diet down and get 5, 6% if I want to, but normally I'm like 9, 10% without trying.
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about what would the move be for you to cut your body fat in half, because I think that's why some people are kind of hopping around from one intervention to another. And let's just be truthful, like the people that are following whatever diet they're following, they're not really complying to it, because we know, I think we can both agree that most diets work. They just don't work forever. And also there's pitfalls of a lot of diets. Like carnivore diet, you might be missing out on like calcium and other things because you're not having, some people that do carnivore, they're just eating meat and they're not getting other nutrients in. They're not having dairy and stuff like that. And if you sugar fast for too long, you're going to end up with the similar pitfalls. There's these micronutrients that you're not getting. But for yourself, if you were to cut your body fat in half, is it logical that you're going to be missing out on some stuff because of some of the lack of calories that you may run into at a certain point because 5% is like insane?
Great question. And I am going to take myself down to 5%, but I'm 49 and a quarter. So I turn 50 April of next year, and I'm going to take myself down to 5.0% body fat at 50 years old, right? That's just because I want to do it. It gives me something. Now I'm coming back from a cervical spine injury from all my years of combat sports and powerlifting and all that stuff. I haven't trained, Mark, since September 12th of 2024.
Shit.
The only thing I've done is nutrition, physical therapy, and daily fasted walking. I haven't touched a weight bigger than a 3-pound dumbbell, which causes too much tension through the cervical spine. I can't even do that yet. So I just want to put that out there. I'm in pretty good shape, right? I've maintained a very low level of body fat, even while I can't. I mean, I was spending for almost 2 months, 20 hours a day laying on the floor because I couldn't even move. And I did not do painkillers. I didn't take anything. I just lived with the pain to guide my recovery. That's a whole nother conversation. So how do I go from, let's say, I'm a touch on, I'd say I'm probably like 9% right now, but how do I go 0.5% body fat? I increase my calorie intake. This is anytime anyone comes to us, I don't care, actors, Marvel movie, UFC fighter, executive, it doesn't matter who they are. I want to lose body fat. Cool. First thing we do, how do we build muscle? They're like, no, I want to get ripped. Yeah. We're going to build muscle. That's how we get ripped. We're going to build muscle. How do we build muscle on you while reducing total body fat percentage? I don't want you to so much get lighter unless you're a UFC athlete. And even then we fight to gain a gram or more of muscle tissue during these 20 to 30 pound acute weight loss phases. This is my bread and butter. I mean, that's why you're talking to me and you know me. Hopefully it's my gleaming personality also. Right? But so
it's because you're from Jersey, baby,
and straightforward, honest. Like this is what we do. Like, and people can tell, am I full of shit or not? Like, me talking, at the very least, I 100% believe in what I say. I'm passionate. Then you can look at my resume and be like, well, the dude actually did what he said he can do. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Instead of some Instagram dork who's falsifying photos, in my opinion, to just schling bullshit. Now, how do we lose body fat? We increase muscle tissue, we increase activity level, we increase calories. That is the best catalyst to start a fat burning process. We upgrade the engine from a V6 to a V8. That's what I want to do first. This is how we start the metabolic rhythm. And this is what we talk about. We want metabolic rhythm. Once we create that rhythm, I can then very specifically curate how hot and bright your metabolism burns based upon the quality, the size, and the frequency of the nutrients we put into it, overlaid now with a very intelligent training program. I am a big advocate of fasted, low-intensity, steady-state cardiovascular activity for optimizing fat loss. And if anyone looks into the actual data, you will see fasted, low-intensity cardio is, in fact, more significant than fed cardio. And the data, I know I'm all over the place, but this matters, and hopefully to you very much, Mark. The data shows the fasted group always loses more body fat than the fed group every single time. But they say, well, it's not significant because it's only 0.5% in 2 weeks. I say, okay, well, that's 1.5% in 6 weeks. How many percent is that over a decade? Like if I say, listen, I'm going to pay your coworker 0.5% more per week than I pay you, compounded over your whole career working here. Who's going to have more money at the end of the year, the end of the career? It's going to be a vast difference. Same thing with fat loss, right? So we leverage those opportunities, lifestyle opportunities, and then we look to leverage thermogenic agents on top of that. That's why I came out with Burn Rate, our 4-phase fat burner. We take 4 phases of insulin regulation, thermogenesis, lipolysis, and mild appetite suppression to enhance the process of the lifestyle factors already built in. And then we can talk about, well, now we can go super physiological and we can throw in other agents, which I will not do for my own deal because I'm 50 years old. I don't need to do that stuff, right? So I'm just going to do the whole natural thing. So that's the way I would, will, and have always done it. And it works every time. Now, we need a little tweaking because some people, maybe they have a thyroid issue or PCOS or Hashimoto's, or they have some insulin issues, or maybe they have a mechanical issue, their knee, their back, they can't do a certain exercise. Well, that's where just kind of specificity comes in. And that's also very easy stuff to tweak too. So it's really easy to go from, 15, 20, 25, 30% body fat. Go from 30 to 15 is very easy. 15 to 12 is harder than going from 30 to 15. 12 to 10 is harder than 15 to 12. 10 to 9, woo, fucking put on your work boots, baby, because now it's like everything every day is measured in work. Going below 9% body fat, it's a lifestyle. You're not dying anymore. You're just living every single meal, every single day, the time you go to bed, the time you wake up, how you hydrate. I mean, the temperature of your room matters at that point.
Yeah, everything matters as you're trying to get leaner and leaner. Would you agree, or where do you stand on, like, there's some people that can naturally handle a much lower body fat percentage.
Yeah.
And there's some people that might be striving to get down to like 7% body fat, and they may have typically had more body fat than that. I kind of personally think that it's almost unhealthy for someone not to do that in the short term. But in my opinion, it can be a little bit unhealthy for somebody to try to force themselves to maintain that. Now, I would also say that I think that I've noticed a shift in my own like set point, I guess you would say. And I don't know if there's any science to like back that stuff up, but like, years ago for me to be 10% body fat would be like nearly impossible. When I was powerlifting and stuff like that, it'd be very, very difficult. I would probably feel deprived of food and so forth and be super hungry. And I'd probably, gain 50 pounds after I got down to like whatever percentage. Do you kind of feel the same? Do you feel similar with what I'm saying?
Yes, that's kind of the living lean concept I mentioned before, which is a slow step down of your metabolic rhythm, allowing your body to adapt. The body resists change. And then once your body finds a homeostasis or a state of balance, it locks in to maintain that. So what you have to do is you have to constantly urge the body to let go of the previous phase, the previous range, the previous metabolic rhythm, call it what you will. You have to urge it intelligently. And what we say, I don't like the biohacking term. You don't hack your body. You're not smarter than your body. The only thing we can do is we can curate an environment with which the body will adapt to.
Encourage the body.
Encourage the body. That's all we're doing. I'm giving my body the correct atmosphere to then achieve my desired look, goal, performance. Now, I know that will be harder and harder the lower I get because the body does not want to be. Our bodies typically want to be more like 12 to 15% body fat on average as men. Ladies, mid-20s to low 30s, and that's a pretty healthy body fat percentage to become these ultra alpha sigmas that we aspire to be. Well, we have to then act like an ultra alpha sigma and really lean into some of the deprivation and the discomfort. Well, I love that. I enjoy that, right? We're in the modern world. I mean, I could have grass-fed steaks delivered to my house at midnight if I want to, right? This is a very simple world. I don't have to go out and kill anything anymore, right? So I kind of want to be a little uncomfortable and force my body to adapt, especially as I get a little older. So encouraging the body to adapt along a predictable timeline, well, that's the key. And once you get there, you can maintain. Like, as I've gotten leaner, I've allowed myself, or I've been able to slowly increase my calories, and I don't gain any body fat. I actually just have more energy. And then I use that energy to go do more things. I go swim in the pool with the kids. I go for more walks. I get on the bike. Like, I can't, strength train is like I would love to. So I have more energy to go do more things with more calories. That's the goal here, right? So there's no risk of nutrient deficiency because I'm eating and maybe last point on why we prioritize single ingredient healthful whole foods. Those foods have the highest nutrient density per calorie than any food currently available. Why would I not choose the hottest chick at the dance, right? That's what I want. Like, I want the most nutrient dense calorie to consume. Therefore, I consume less total calories with maximum nutrient absorption instead of eating nutrient devoid foods that have high relative calorie intake. That's just a waste of time and effort. That has, in my mind, and I think the data shows, a negative impact, systemic impact.
When you're bringing down calories, are you bringing down kind of all macronutrients?
Now, great question. That we always bring down relative calories through energy exertion first. And this is something that most people miss. Like, I need a calorie deficit. I'm going to cut 200 calories. They say, why? Why don't you just follow your normal life, normal meal plan? But why don't you just start parking your car the last spot in the parking lot and walk the extra 40 yards back and forth to work? Lunch break, work, lunch, go home. Why not start taking the stairs and then give it a week and see what happens? This is the way we operate with our clients. Like, if we say within 3 to 10 days, any dietary adjustment is working or not. 3 to 10 days of stepping on the scale first thing in the morning, taking the torso shot, and then just charting your relative energy throughout the day. I know exactly if it's working or not. You know what I'm saying? Very easy. Why am I going to make an arbitrary change or reduction of, because when I hear calories, I don't think calories. I hear calories, I think nutrients. Why am I going to delete vital nutrients from this working organism? I need that to rebuild, repair, to thrive and drive. I need those. I want to increase calories so I can increase energy expenditure. And you don't have to I got to be on the treadmill. Dude, go do yard work, man. It's so simple. And you know the term NEAT. I use NEAT, the acronym, slightly differently. I call it non-exercise associated thermogenesis, which makes more, when you say it, people are like, oh, I get that. When you say it the other way, people are like, what does that mean? I don't understand that. Well, it's not exercise associated fat loss. I'm not in the gym on the treadmill. I'm just here. I'm an East Coast Italian, right? I'm here. I'm standing. I'm talking. I'm animated. I'm burning way more calories than if I was just sitting here at the desk talking to you. So what am I going to burn? An extra, 100 calories just doing this interview with you? Why would I cut?
Every podcast I've ever done is standing. It adds up.
Right? And there you go. So you would have to cut 25 grams of protein just to make up for what you're burning right now, just talking through a podcast. No, I want to increase that intake, which goes to the lean tissue. So the last part you said to answer the question was, do I look at any macros? We play with, now I think very similarly, we prioritize protein, moderate carbs, low moderate fat. That's kind of the way we've always structured our meal plans. Protein priority, and we'll match protein and carbs. I remember the first time I was on your show, you were kind of in the war of carbs phase. And I wore a blue I Eat Carbs t-shirt just by happenstance. It wasn't on purpose. I was like, oh no, I hope Mark doesn't get pissed at me. This is the I was at a UFC with my guy in Sacramento. I was like, all right, fuck, I'm not trying to be a dick, but this is the shirt I had on today, right? It was just like a Dolce branded shirt for media. And the point is, we usually match gram for gram protein and carbs, and then we take in a much lower total fat intake from the right high quality fat sources. I'd say 30 grams of fat is about right to start with for the average healthy active adult from the right sources, which is only 270 calories of fat per day, which is maybe 10% of your total dietary intake of a guy my size, about 200 pounds. That's not a lot of fat. But the right fat that's very impactful, to go lower than that could cause a problem if that's consistently reduced. To go too high, when we look at like a lot of the bodybuilders, the extreme composition athletes, most of them get ultra lean by going almost zero fat for a period of time. I mean, you competed, and I don't know what your diet was with Hanny, but I assume Hanny had you eating a lot more carbs than you were previously, probably more protein, and he was probably stripping dietary fat from your diet, especially as you got closer to the competition.
Yeah, it's very common in bodybuilding where they take the fat calories way down, and it's something that I think it's like I think that alone I think can be really important for people, and I don't want to see people just like having zero fat perpetually for days on end. That's going to cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And also recovering from your workouts, opening yourself up to injury and so forth like that. Those are things you got to all kind of be, those are big deals. Like if your dick doesn't work and you fucking tear your hamstring, like these are like catastrophic things that you do not want anything to do with. So,
Yep.
But bringing fat calories down can be one of the simplest changes. Just like you mentioned, some fasted walking or some fasted, activity of some sort can be huge. That could be such a game changer for somebody. And another huge game changer could be to simply just pay attention to your fats. People that are listening right now that maybe don't even really want to hop on any particular diet. They just are looking for something to just kind of boost things forward a little bit. I would say if most people just brought their fats down to like 60, unless they were already there, if they brought their fat down to like 60, they might notice some pretty good improvements right away.
Agreed. Most people eat an excessive amount of dietary fat by accident. They don't even realize it's already in the foods that they're eating, and they're eating what they think is healthy foods, right? But most of these healthy foods are cooked in fat.
A salad could have 30 grams of fat because of the dressing.
Exactly. And the wrong fat. And it just blows your entire dietary intake of fat right out of the water. I mean, how many people go to the restaurant like, oh, I'll just have a Caesar salad. Like, there's literally more calories in the dressing than the entirety of the salad itself. And they'll get like grilled chicken breasts so they feel like they're being healthy. It's like, dude, it's mayonnaise mixed in canola oil. Like, that's what you're eating. I mean, you might as well just go drink that, or spoon feed that out of the jar, right?
And it does make the vegetables taste good. Like, we're not disagreeing with that part. But then also it might have avocado on it. It also might have some cheese in there.
Yep.
And now the fat calories, you're looking at like 40 grams. And like you said, it just destroyed your whole day.
Yep.
And then maybe early in the day, maybe you had a coffee that had like a little bit of cream in it. And these things, they just add up. It might have only been 5 grams of fat, but 5 grams of fat here, a big bolus of fat at lunch. Now, now it's dinner time and you have some red meat. Nothing wrong with red meat, but red meat could contain quite a bit of fat. Now you're at like 70, 80 grams of fat in that day. Easy.
Absolutely. I recently went to Ruths Chris with a bunch of buddies, right? And that's expensive. And they're all expensive, fancy guys. And they're cigars and drinking and wine and all this stuff. And we sit around, and I got 2 guys next to me, one in front of me. It's a pretty big table. And everybody orders. And I order, and nobody blinks. Everybody's order. I'm going to get the T-bone, and I'm going to get the scallop mashed potatoes or what this. And I ordered this, like the princess cut sirloin. I ordered, instead of the cream spinach, I ordered spinach sauteed in olive oil. And I ordered a plain baked potato with a side of butter. I got a glass of water, and I got an herbal tea. And then someone took a photo of the table. You look at the table, everyone's got a steak, a potato, and a green on their plate. My entire plate was less than 800 calories. The 2 guys next to me, their entire plate was over 3,000 calories, plus the alcohol on top of it. I loved my meal, and I was kind of full when I was done because it's a good serving, right? And I just say this to those listening, that you can actually eat really fucking good and fit in, with the civilians, I call them. And then like at the end, then like the next
civilians.
What's that?
I said these filthy civilians.
These filthy civilians. Well, they're normies, normal people, right? They don't understand. And hopefully they listen to guys like us and they're like, fuck, I never thought I could do that. I never even thought about that.
It's not a huge sacrifice.
What's that?
It's not a huge sacrifice to do that.
Mark, it would be a sacrifice to not do that.
Right.
If I ate what they ate, I would have been in such digestive distress. I would have woke up the next morning bloated, puffy. I would have destroyed the restroom, right? And we know that once your system's operating very cleanly, you understand exactly when the impurities come in. And that is my bias. I've been doing this for so long. I'm so opinionated because I've lived both sides of the line. I know what the impact is. I know what the difference is. I know how it feels. And there is no comparison to living a clean, healthy lifestyle. And it's easier. It tastes so much better. Everything works better. It's like, why would you not want to marry the hot girl? Like, why do you want to be with the 4 when you can literally be with a 10, to kind of strain that analogy, 24 hours a day? It makes no sense to me, which is, again, why I speak the way that I do, and I'm fucking opinionated about it.
Where do you stand? I went to Ruths Chris the other day too, which is funny because I haven't been there in years.
Yeah.
But when I went, I did a very, very similar thing. I ordered a shrimp cocktail, and no one else cared to eat the shrimp. But shrimp is like almost, I think shrimp is very close to zero fat.
Yeah.
It's primarily just protein. So I had that. I think I had a salad, kept the dressing on the side. I usually, like at a nice restaurant, I'll get a salad, and I don't usually even need to put dressing on it. So that was fine. And I did the same thing as you did. And years ago, I used to, always want to get the biggest steak they had. A 12-ounce steak wasn't big enough. I need the 16 and stuff. But you learn as you get older, you get more mature. You're like, I just don't need all the extra stuff. And we have this kind of scarcity thing about us where it's like, you're going to go home. There's plenty of food at home. So if you're still hungry, just make a protein shake and then go to bed.
Dude, you just described my life. Right? Protein shake, or maybe I'll do like a little omelet, like a little veggie omelet at night before bed if I just want a little food, bulk matter in my stomach. Like, it's so, like, that's usually when I'm dieting down. I'll go to a little more food. When I'm maintaining or trying to build, I'll do more shake because you're eating more total food volume. It's very simple to do. We have what we call the breakfast bowl, which is, it's like oats and seeds and nuts and berries. It's fucking delicious. It's so delicious. It's like dessert, clean and healthy. And a lot of these people are like, oh, where's the protein? Like, what are you, a vegan now, you pussy? I'm like, dude, there's literally 25 grams of protein in that bowl that looks like carbs, but there's 25 grams of protein in this bowl. There's like 60 to 70 grams of carbohydrates. Yes. Like 8 to 12 grams of fiber. Yes. Like, it's got such an amazing nutrient profile, but most people are like, if there's not steak in there, then you're a pussy. Like, and then, you look at their profile and they're all these civilians, I call them the boob bellies. They got the boobs, they got the big belly sticking out, and they're like, they're doing deadlifts like 185 pounds, like slamming it on the ground. It's like, do you, bro? But be educated before you speak. Right? We get amino acids from multiple sources. It doesn't have to just come from steak. I eat steak almost every day. We both endorse certified Piedmontese. Fucking love them. Like, it's like a dance in our house when that beautiful shipment comes. We love it. But at the same time, I'm literally eating 4 ounces or 6 ounces at a single sitting as a 200-pound fit guy. But I'm eating 4 to 5 meals a day.
And there's a great example. Piedmontese, certified Piedmontese, just to plug them, and they're amazing. They have hot dogs. Yes. You normally can't eat a hot dog.
No.
But they have a hot dog where the macros are flipped. Normally a hot dog's got like 20 grams of fat, if not more, and it has only 10 protein. This is more like 10 grams of fat and 20 grams of protein. So there's all these little things you can do. And I think, like somebody to switch out their regular ground beef that they have with maybe like 85-15, and then the next move over that could be the 93-7. As your taste buds get used to different things, it might take a little while. You might be like, this tastes disgusting. This doesn't have the same pop, the same flavor as it did before. But there's these little just moves you can make using something like mozzarella cheese or using something like feta cheese. Maybe you're going to use a little bit less of that. Those are leaner, quote unquote, leaner cheeses than some of the other regular cheeses. And there's just these kind of small things that you do that don't feel like a sacrifice, but they're still moving you forward.
Yep. It's with a little bit of intention, it is very easy to eat perfectly. And many people, probably you, they definitely me, like, oh man, your life must suck. That's so boring. Like every meal I eat is like 4-star. Like you would come to my house and like want to like shit, man. Like how much? That was incredible. I can't believe I just ate grass-fed burgers and like homemade like baked French fries, like from a real potato. Like you're gonna go pay 30, $50 at a restaurant for that. It's what we eat all day, every day, for pennies on the dollar, by the way. Because I'm not polluting my body with Chipotle or Panera Bread or Chick-fil-A or some other fucking, mud gut type of product. Like people think that's bad. And then another little memorable, hopefully, quip is the appearance of food freedom is what many people complain about. Oh, I can't eat the same thing every day. Bullshit, motherfucker. You do eat the same thing every day. The average person eats the same one of 2 breakfasts, one of 2 lunches, and one of 3 dinners. The average person goes to the exact same fucking restaurant and eats the exact same thing every time they go. There is no food freedom. You just want to eat like a 4-year-old. That's the only difference, right? So it's like I get to choose. I mean, shit, we have 350 recipes in our Living Lean cookbook, all within the same principles. We have like sloppy, we call them slightly sloppy Mikes. It's like a twist on sloppy Joes or champion chili, power pasta, East Coast breakfast toast because fuck the French. I know, just kidding, not really. But like all that fun stuff, fighter fajitas, and like we have all these. And I'm not plugging my stuff. I just want to say, with a little bit of intention, you can reverse engineer any recipe out there that like my grandma used to make, and make it healthy with a few little tweaks. So it's like you have access to all the most amazing food in the world, and then have perfect blood work and fucking be lean as shit. Have your wife finally chasing you around the fucking bedroom, which is rare for most guys over 40, right? So, and like now you can get out there and be competitive again. And the next 40, 50 years are actually exciting because I get a lot of guys, 35, 40, 45, that they're like their best years are a decade behind them. And they're like, oh, fuck, man, like they don't know what to do. It's like, dude, you're in a tailspin. You're on the way out quick, right? It's a few of these little changes that need to be done in order to kind of like re-express their optimal health.
What are some of your thoughts on like juices and stuff like that? Are those maybe just things that you allow for, but you're like, they're just not really filling, and you could be having calories that just aren't gonna fill you up enough. I'd rather have you eat the fruit.
Yeah, juices would be more activity associated. So if I'm going to go and like train, then I can have like a beet juice or a fruit juice for sure. Glycolytic activity, yeah, man, I want that glucose. Hell yeah, bring it on. If not though, why? I would do a smoothie instead, a whole food smoothie, which is better than just a juice, unless I'm looking to spike blood sugar, right? Then I would do like a juice, and we're big fans of beet juice, but those listening, be careful because beet juice is a vasodilator. And if you drink beet juice for the first time and you stand up or do a set of squats, you could fucking face plant. That happens more often than not, right? So I'd say, hey, dilute that down like 4 ounces of beet juice and like 16 ounces of water and slowly see how your body adapts to that. Outside of that, I'm not a big juice fan anymore because I think I'd rather eat the whole food than just a segment of the food, unless it's athleticism dependent.
And then around workouts, do you do particular styles of nutrition with athletes and lifters and so forth?
It depends on the athlete, depends on the modality or what are they performing. Also depends on how do we want them to express energy, right? So it's the their ability to express certain energy, and we know that we can use food to influence the energy that they actually use, right? So if we want them to express more glucose stored as glycogen, well, we feed them more glycogen-based foods, more carbohydrates. If we want to get them to express more fat, maybe longer endurance, we're going to feed them more of a fat, more of like nut butters, avocado going into that training session. And there's really good data on it, but then, anecdotally, we see that rather well. That being said, I like a little bit of a blend. Now, I might do like 90 minutes before, I might do like a simple bro meal, little chicken, rice, peppers, onions, kind of something simple, digests real well. If I don't have that kind of like time or I choose not to, I'll do something maybe 15 to 30 minutes before, couple rice cakes, maybe little almond or nut butter onto it, slice of a raw banana or super ripe banana, something like that. I'm not a big fan, even though I sell a protein powder, I'm not a big fan of putting powders into athletes prior to training. Now, we will have them do like an all natural electrolyte, which is like using literally like purified water and adding some salt and maybe some, citric acid from like fresh squeezed lemon or some raw honey squeezed in. Like we'll do some of that stuff. And that's really more for the digestibility. We found more predictable outcomes with the more natural intakes. So again, not directly answering the question, but we have options available relative to the individual and what they're going to be doing for how long, right? Time and intensity is absolutely going to matter. And then do we do some intra? Like I'm a guy whose blood sugar crashes. That's where I will grab an intra workout shake 45 minutes in. Like I can feel myself starting to fade and I'll start to just like, I'll drink just a whey isolate. And that will actually get my blood sugar stable again. I'm not looking to throw extra sugar in, just a whey isolate, which is going to help me kind of stabilize a little bit, finish my workout. And I kind of 30 minutes later, I'll have a real meal.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Like rather than just, randomly smashing yourself with a bunch of weird carbohydrates, the whey protein will, balance you out enough, I guess, right?
It will. And, this is where the bodybuilding culture, I love it, but it's so terrible. It's like, it's so extreme. I was watching Beef Stew, right? The bodybuilder guy, him. I think he's great. I like what he does. I like his personality and all that. I was watching one of his videos. He's getting ready to go to the gym. And he's just like coming up with this crazy concoction of all these different type of like fast dissolving carbohydrates. And I'm like, why? Now, not knowing what else he's leveraging behind the scenes, maybe there's a reason for that without kind of, saying, but I'll allude to that. Maybe that's why, but big picture, why? We don't need that. You don't need that. Like the average person 100% doesn't need that. But most of these Gymshark kids running around the fucking gyms, they're all drinking these little neon fucking shakes, doing their 3 sets of bench press with 160 pounds. Like your body already has more than enough glycogen to perform the workouts you guys are doing. You don't need to be dumping all this extra sugar, spiking that blood sugar, and then the insulin that chases the blood sugar, right? Which is kind of like the bigger issue. We don't need to be doing that. Like maybe just dripping in a little bit of like a whey isolate during that workout. If you kind of are like me, that tend to kind of skew hypo, it's simple. That's all you need.
How many carbs do you usually eat in a day? 300 or so?
Right. Yeah. Right around 300. 300 would be like my medium day. I might go down to like 150, 125 at the lowest on a low day. And then I'll go to like 4 to 6 if I'm doing a high day.
So you kind of, without probably even like writing it out or anything, you probably intuitively at this point do like carb cycling.
Yeah, 100%. And it's
you're just kind of following like whatever the activity is for the day. I think some of it's kind of fun or funny because I know I do this a lot. I kind of act as if I'm gonna like do an ultra marathon, each day, like with my food, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I have to talk myself down all the time because I tend to eat with my eyes, and I just want to make a giant pile of something to eat. Yeah. And so I have to kind of always work towards understanding what you mentioned earlier. Like, I don't need that much food to go have a successful workout. I don't need any food at all.
You don't. And the beauty is, Mark, we can always eat again later.
Right.
And I'm the same. Former fat guy. Right? I can always eat again later. And anytime I'm hungry, I say, all right, I'm hungry. Am I fueled? I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I just had 6 ounces of chicken, a whole baked potato, whatever the thing was, like 2 hours ago. I'm fine. I'm fueled. I'm stressed out. I got this work thing going on or whatever. I'm just a little emotional. I'm feeling some kind of way. That's what's pulling me to want to eat, right? It's the appetite versus hunger kind of, cycle. Is it emotionally derived or is it a nutritional mandate, right? What's happening here? We're having that awareness, but eating simply, and I'll use another term, we call it the 4x4 for everyone. 4 meals, 4 hours apart. The meal should be about the same size. The plate should look about the same. If you don't know what to do, just do that. So simple. And then within 3 days of eating kind of the same foods at the same times in the same portions in the same intervals, you'll all either lose weight, gain weight, or maintain weight. Then make a small adjustment for the next 3 days based upon whatever that feedback was. Maybe it's slightly less of each meal. Maybe it's slightly less of carbs in each meal. Maybe it's slightly less of that last meal that really stuck and kept you bloated. You get that immediate feedback. So it, again, now it becomes very easy. So we say, don't count calories, make calories count. I'm saying that for 15 plus years. This is the exact reason why. I don't count calories, never have. You're like, that's impossible. It's like, no, motherfucker, that's not necessary because, well, I'm accountable. I know what I ate yesterday and I know what I weighed this morning. If I'm heavier, I eat a little less. If I'm lighter and I want to be heavier, then I eat a little bit more. It's very easy to then balance the plate. And something I also like to point out is counting calories in does absolutely nothing unless we can equally count calories out. And to date, nobody has come up with a way to count calories out, to count expenditure. So 1 plus X equals, you don't fucking know. So what are you doing anyway, dickhead? Right? Not to be brash, of course. But if you can't count expenditure, I trained legs today. Well, did you do fucking 3 sets of 10 on the extension or did you do 20 rep breathing squats? How many calories did you burn, dickhead? Oh, you don't know. So who fucking cares about your macro ratio or your calorie intake? It has to be relative to the individual activity. Therefore, we can then select our meals in real time and not follow the template programs, which are common.
I love that. I mean, I've been talking about energy, just energy, just view it as energy. There's no reason to get too caught up with the calories. One of my gripes with calories, and I call people calorie counting cunts because I just get so sick of all the questions about calories. And I understand it can be effective. I know there's people that I'm not going to dismiss that there's people who have counted calories and have had success with it.
Yeah.
And if you're having success with that and you want to continue onward, then by all means do so. But I agree with you. It's you're just trying to look for some sort of energy balance. And I'm more into food choices. Exactly what you've been talking about. I'm more into food choices. I'd rather see people start to understand there's kind of a little bit of loopholes within nutrition, and they don't necessarily work out this way, but they work out this way in my head. Smelly science. Vegetables, I think, are as long as they're not cooked in oil. Vegetables, I think, are relatively free. Yep. I don't mean you can eat, you can eat a million pounds worth of vegetables, but you can kind of have at it with vegetables. Berries, I would say, is very similar. And I would say even very lean sources of protein. Again, I'm not saying that you can have, a 22 ounce, giant whatever, and have 700 grams of protein every day. But what I am saying is if you have, an extra 30 grams or 20 grams of protein here and there to satiate you and just to allow you to feel a little bit more full, I don't think it's harmful. Same thing with the vegetables and so forth.
Yeah, spot on. If everyone ate exactly like that, who would be fat?
It'd be impossible.
It'd be impossible. Who would be metabolically unhealthy? It would be impossible. Almost all health issues would stabilize and begin to reverse if people simply ate like that and stopped worrying about counting calories and fitting macros. The human body, I said this last time on your show, we intelligently, and not we, our conscious mind, we metabolically self-regulate intake when we are not disrupting the biochemical cues that synthetic foods disrupt. When we're eating single ingredient, healthful whole foods, we are only receiving the proper cueing. Therefore, we do not overeat. I've never overeaten salmon, rice, and asparagus, ever. I have overeaten pasta every fucking time I've eaten it, right? So you think about that. Pasta is so much it's delicious, but it's very calorie dense, especially when you add the sauces and the oils. Why am I eating so much more of this higher calorie meal and so much less of this lower calorie meal? I use the apple and the donut analogy. Nobody eats 3 donuts, or nobody eats 3 apples.
Right.
Everybody eats 3 slices of pizza, 3 donuts, 3 cookies for sure. Why is that? Well, it's the same. It's the
Minimum.
simple cueing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a minimum requirement when you're going to eat a cookie. I had Jay Feldman on the show yesterday, and I also am going to be talking to another guy named Mike Fave. And these guys, they use the word pro-metabolic, and I like that term. And I think that's exactly what you're after. I think that you talked about whenever somebody comes into your camp, whenever someone's trying some of your nutritional protocols, the first thing you do is up the calories.
Yep.
And I think that might be new for some people. Like some people might not have a good understanding of that. Like what you're doing there is you're increasing somebody's metabolic rate. So if you do so intelligently and you bring the energy up just a bit, especially with healthy foods, that's going to have the person most likely, and not in all cases, but most likely, and you can auto correct as you go, right? But most likely that's going to increase that person's metabolic rate. They might even lose weight from that. They might feel like, I'm sure you've had people tell you in testimonies, Mike, I can't eat this much food.
Yeah.
This is, you're giving me too much food. And then, but the scale's going down a little bit.
Yeah. You know, our 3 weeks to shredded program, the number one complaint is there is too much food. I can't eat all this food. How am I supposed to eat all this food? I've never eaten this much food before. The number 2 complaint is I have to buy all new clothes because I've lost so much weight. For this exact reason, most people are overfed and undernourished, right? What we do is we optimally feed and nourish. And your body, again, will self-regulate. So the ability to eat the right amount of calories with maximum nutrient density, well, that's the fucking goal, right? Like all the other ways, they don't work. And I wish, like, you get so many people who are jumping on to like all of the injectable fat loss agents now. The GLP-1, GLP-2, GLP-3. It's like, oh, that's the best thing ever. It's like, is it though? Like, what are the downstream effects of that? Oh, nobody knows. Cool. Well, we know some of them, and we know that they're all negative outside of, well, I lost weight. Yes. Are there other healthy ways to lose weight? Well, I've tried all that. No, you didn't. Because if you did try it, it would have worked. And I know that because that's what we do. Now, some people just choose not to do it. Oh, well, that's like choosing not to take your little GLP-1 shot. You choose not to drink water and instead you drink soda or a beer. Well, you're just choosing not to follow the program. So there is cause and effect. Right. And that's one of the scary things. And I wonder, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, if we've seen so many times with pharma, what it will be the long-term negative impact of this new category of drugs that nobody knows the long-term impact of, instead of just regulating lifestyle.
Yeah, they're definitely going to start to add to those drugs, right? And what they'll add to those drugs are things to counteract some of the negative side effects. Like maybe they'll figure out a way to not have the same negative impact on bone density.
Yeah.
Maybe, but then you're just taking more, like they're just going to be adding more and more drugs to it. There's already one, I think, that they've been talking about. They might add like a myostatin inhibitor or something like that to help people hold muscle mass, which is cool. And that's like, kind of sounds like the making of like the Incredible Hulk or something like that.
Yeah.
But you're getting into dangerous territory. You're trading too many things out. And I think that's been your kind of mantra the whole time is like, hey, let's just stay steady with this diet that I created. If we stay steady with this diet, you're going to get the results. And if you're not getting the results, well, let's just make some changes, because maybe for one person, again, they might have to have more carbs. Someone might have to have less carbs. Who knows? Maybe somebody needs more fiber. I'm sure you run into all kinds of different problems that people have over the years, and even people having just like metabolic dysregulation, people having disease. You could have someone who doesn't have a gallbladder or something. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people have that makes it very difficult to just have one singular message with a particular diet.
Yes, very well said. And on that, I didn't create the diet. The only thing that we've done, I believe, is I noted the laws And I stood back and pointed to them, and I try and bring attention to the governing laws of nutrition. The same way that Sir Isaac Newton didn't invent gravity, he simply observed it and started to discuss it and define it and openly have dialogue about it. With nutrition, that's the way I see it. I didn't create the process. I simply noted it, and now I talk about it, and I kind of packaged it, hopefully in a easy to consume manner. But when you talk about individual variability, well, that would be the same thing when we talk about the terms of gravity. You don't change the laws of gravity, but the individual object itself will have a different relationship with the laws of gravity. If I drop a bus off a 1,000-foot bridge, that bus will fall at a different rate than if I dropped an arrow, right? Because the arrow is aerodynamic, the bus then is not. So there are other laws that will have an impact, but the governing law of nutrition to me does not change. And that's what I get, wildly frustrated about when I see in the industry, many people claim to have discovered the new thing. There's nothing new in nutrition. There's nothing new. And I'll say there's nothing new in strength training either. I can't point to any athlete today outside of gear use, maybe wearables and maybe pharmacology, that is any better than the athletes of the John Grimmick days, like the Eugene Sandow days, the turn of the century days. And I would actually say if we took those guys, gave them the gear, the equipment, the lifestyle, the food, with their training program of today, I would wager to say that they would probably be the top of the sport of their choice as they were back then. So
there are books written on this topic, and one person has Jesse Owens pinned at like a 9.7 or 9.8, which is like right there with the best track athletes ever. And you could say, okay, maybe a little bit more modern training, even though there's nothing new under the sun necessarily, and specific coaches that now get these world record times. He'd be right there with Usain Bolt.
Yeah. So like all some 24-year-old fitness influencer with 600,000 viewers, all of a sudden he's an expert on what's new in nutrition and strength training. It's like, no, just like the 22-year-old millionaires telling you how to like make, $100,000 a month. It's all bullshit, right? It's all bullshit. It's all white noise. Simple is always going to work as long as it's founded in evidence-based science, which is not a study of 6 people. New study shows 6 overweight ladies lost 11 pounds in this period of time by doing this one thing, and then that gets pushed. I mean, where's what, full-length partials? All the evidence-based guys, like, is that how you train to fucking be one of the strongest men on the planet, or Big Stan? Is that how you guys train to smash world records, doing these full-length partials that these 180-pound fucking gym dweebs are doing? Right? Not to disrespect guys in the gym, but it's like you didn't find anything fucking new. You're just trying to, or like the Bulgarian burst system. You remember that, Leo Costa? Like, there's nothing new here, guys. Simple basics applied over time. That is what will always work, most specifically with regards to nutrition. And you know what, Mark? That's really hard for me to sell. And something that to think about, there's a guy, Chase Hughes. He was on Rogan. He's all over kind of the, YouTube and whatnot. And he said he accurately described something that immediately made sense to me. Fear, focus, emotion, agitation, repetition. How do you brainwash a culture? Well, you get them to focus on something. You create an emotional response. You continue that emotional response because they're then stuck thinking about it, and then you repeat the message over and over and over again. This is Paul Saladino. Kale is bullshit. Wait, what? Dude in no shirt on in a Whole Foods with moms and kids in the background, right? That's a dirtbag move, and I'll say that a million times over. And then he's walking around, kale is bullshit. Well, now, so he got your focus. Who's this weird dude with his shirt off in a Whole Foods? Got your focus. Emotion, he's saying something that is contrary to what your core belief system is. Agitation, you hear that, you see that, you're like, what the fuck was that dude saying? That's fucking wrong. That's wrong. That dude is wrong. And then repetition, he keeps doubling down, doubling down, doubling down. That's how guys like Paul build followings, right? And it's this mental construct that Chase Hughes really, identified, that many of the fitness influencers, either they're aware of it, and Paul Saladino, a psychiatrist, of course he's aware of it. And I've said that for years on your show even. Dude's been fucking wrong 4 or 5 times, and now all of a sudden he's right. And no, dude, you're a fucking grifter, in my opinion, alongside the Liver King, your business partner, right? I mean, let's kind of understand the origin story. I know everybody. I know the behind the scenes. I've been in this game longer than almost everybody, and I see it all come and go. The problem with my stuff is I'm honest, and I don't play the fucking weird mental games. It's like, hey, this is what works. Like it or don't like it. I got a wall of elite athletes who have 100% success ratio. I mean, if resumes don't matter, go listen to the fucking, I don't know, the dude with his shirt off in fucking Whole Foods throwing broccoli on the floor. Like, that guy's got to know what he's talking about.
I think you're kind of ignored.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think like people just kind of, and I think Stan kind of has recognized the same thing. I think Stan's recognized, like, so that's why he didn't double down on content and stuff, is because he's like, I'm going to sell these books anyway, because what I'm talking about is right. And, people like the vertical diet and people are getting great results. He's like, so I'm not going to overly try to like hype it. I'm just going to like continue to research and continue to add more information, which he does all the time, to the vertical diet. And I think very similar to yourself, you have this message that's like, it's not even necessarily slow and steady, because the people that are doing it are having great results, and they're having great results quickly. But the overall picture of the thing it's not fancy. It's not like, hey, here's this one thing that you got to do. You cut the carbs and then you're just going to get shredded. And it's like, okay, now I can take that message and I can go run with it. But when the message is like, hey, let's calm down a little bit. Let's get rid of all the junk food. No more Quest bars, no more this, no more that. You start kind of taking away a lot of stuff that people are more comfortable with, as opposed to like, if it fits your macros, and you're making room for pizza, and you're making room for junk food, and you're sneaking in some candy in the sugar diet, or whatever it might be. And that's why I like having these conversations, because I want to make sure that people aren't just hearing from me. They're not just hearing like what I'm excited about for the moment. They're also hearing the other side of things. And when it comes to the sugar diet, just so you're aware, like sort of where this came from was some of this came from people's interpretation of a guy named Ray Peat, who I'm sure you've heard that name tossed around before. Yeah. Ray Peat was more of a balanced diet guy. Ray Peat was not into just straight sugar, just eating straight sugar. However, he felt that honey and some of these natural sugars that come from fruit and stuff like that can really help increase metabolic rate. Fruit, honey, those types of things. And so he would utilize those with people to help them. But he would also, like, he's eating protein. He's making sure he has nutrient rich and nutrient dense foods. He's also making sure people have dairy, all these things. So somebody kind of came up with this idea of like the honey diet. People even tried the Coke diet, where they're just pretty much just drinking Coke. It's interesting because people have had weight loss results. And again, that's a thing that like people might focus on. And now they got everyone's attention by, losing weight with candy, or losing weight with, but we know that we can lose weight. We understand that idea. I think everyone understands that idea. If you cut out any macronutrients, or you just reduce the overall amount of energy that you're consuming, you can have some results with weight loss. However, at some point, it's probably gonna cause a problem, because you could be losing muscle mass along the way, which may or may not be happening to everybody, but that is a potential concern. And when that happens, you're starting to reduce your metabolic rate. So rather than maybe having so many concerns and try to do so many tricks to try to fill in where your diet is deficient, maybe just try the Dolce diet and keep things a little bit more simple and keep things a little bit more sustainable.
But I agree 100%. Not because it's like my diet per se, but I believe that is the best and most efficient path forward over time. Like, it's the Warren Buffett strategy in fitness. That's the way it's compounding interest over time. You're not Sam Bankman-Fried chasing Bitcoin. You're the richest man in the world, and then you're in fucking jail, destitute and broke. Most of the fitness fads are exactly that. I've been in the game since the mid 90s. You too. I mean, early 90s even now. Holy shit, it's crazy. Even as in the late 80s, to like be pure and honest, of when I was enamored with fitness and like all in on it in a gym training. So I've been in it for that freaking long. I've seen everything come and go and come and go and come and go, and it goes through these cycles. And the only thing that works long term is exactly what what I'm talking about. You know, you're kind of talking about here, is this very simple, straightforward method moving forward. It is a longevity-based nutrition plan that maximizes short-term results and compounds over time, so we improve the integrity of the cellular organism without risk or contradiction. And many of the other programs, the deficit style programs, whether it's nutrient deficit or calorie deficit or whatever it might be, there will be a short-term benefit. Alan Aragon talks about this quite a bit. Short-term benefit, long-term negative effect. Why am I going to take one step forward to take two steps back? I would rather just take one step forward continuously over time, because when we look back, our people will be 3 steps ahead of the fad dieters. And I'll say that right now. Everyone who is doing keto, I mean, carnivore is basically dead. Keto's basically dead. Intermittent fasting is basically dying. It's on the way out right now. Everyone's looking for the new thing. 2017, I did a whole YouTube video on this and got a lot of people mad at me because I said exactly this. I said that these diets have these 18 to 36 month, peak windows, and then they crest and they fade and something else comes, the exclusionary restrictive dietary program. Something is born out of the old thing because the marketers need something else to sell. Like, no disrespect to Thomas DeLauer. I think he's a good guy, but man, Thomas has been all over the fucking place with his expertise, and I wonder why. Because what got Tom to look the way Tom looks is more in line with what I'm saying today. He was kind of more of a bodybuilder bro, eating clean, healthy foods. The dude's looked great his entire life. But he's gone on and off of so many different nutritional ideologies, and none have discernibly changed his look at all, or health at all, I would say. And I'm a fan of him, not bagging on him. But at the same time, I don't understand. I think it's more of the monetization side, where Rhonda Patrick and Peter Attia, 2 PhDs, like equal credibility. I hear them contradict each other about what's the best thing, and I hear them contradict themselves about what's the best thing. Like Peter Attia was like, hey, I'm fasting and a keto guy. And then he's like, oh God, I'm not a fasting keto. That was terrible. Like, dude, I thought you were an expert. And why are you talking about fasting and keto when fasting and keto is trending as a Google SEO term? You're all in, and then when it's not, you're not. Similarly with Rhonda. These are smart people. Why are they being duped by lack of evidence, lack of science? They say, well, due to the changing evidence. Like, bullshit. There is no new evidence either way. We know that these are fads. Why does a meathead like me have to be the one to say, well, guys, like, who's been in the industry for 30, 40 some odd years, and who else has, I don't know, like maybe a computer, or back in the old days, a library to go to, where we're all aware of these fads that come and go, come and go. Now, if you want to ride a fad and change it up and have some fun, dude, go ahead. I don't care. It's like the powerlifter, the powerlifter who all of a sudden starts running. Dude, have fun, love it. Okay, fine. But the ideology that somehow the human species has changed so dramatically in the last 36 months is bullshit. It's all a ploy. And one other thing that you had said, remember John Kiefer and carb backloading?
Yes.
Sugar diet is basically, it's kind of a spin on Kiefer stuff. And I was like, hey man, back, that was 15 years ago, maybe? I tried to like talk to Kiefer, but he was hard to get in touch with. I wanted to like do what we're doing right now. It's like, I get what you're saying, and I agree. Carb backloading. Hey, why are you telling people to eat fucking birthday cake though?
Right.
Why not whole food? Like, you can do the same thing with whole foods. And like, that's what I would say towards the sugar diet. Like, if you want to take like a little diet break, have some fun, like make a change, dude, yeah, fine. Do it with whole foods though. Avoid the synthetics. Do it with whole foods. And then what we teach is picture yourself in a bubble. with 72 hours in front of you and 72 hours behind you. That 72-hour bubble, either way, that is who you are. The last 3 days of what you consumed and the next 3 days of what you will consume, that's what makes you you. So if I'm saying, hey, for the next 24, 36 hours, I'm going to just like drop protein, drop fat, increase my healthy carb count, and fuck, man, I feel awesome. I'm going to go and fucking crush a couple extra workouts or maybe refeed on those. And then I'm going to swing back into a more normalized program. Dude, yeah, we can do protein fasting. We can do fat fasting. You can do the same things. I mean, we should copyright those right now, right? Before fucking Cole tries to take them, right? You put those out there, and that's the new thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar to that eventually kind of come through. But it all goes back to the foundation. What's the foundation? Single ingredient, healthful whole food, eaten in wide variety, in even portions, based upon activity, consistently over time. If that's all you do, you will look better, feel better, live better. Your health will improve. Your body composition will improve. Like, everything is better. So it's like, double down in the S&P 500, invest 10 to 25% of your take-home income into a Roth 401k over time, and you're going to fucking retire wealthy with generational wealth to pass down to your kids.
I did all that, by the way.
What's that?
I said I've done all that, by the way.
You do that, Mark, and you do that because that is the evergreen principle we know. Now, hopefully you throw 5% into maybe a little bit of crypto or, some NVIDIA or Palantir or whatever, maybe you put a little bit over there. I think we all should, because God forbid that pops, hey, fine. But 95% of our wealth is in conservative funds that have a track record of historical returns. That is the way we guarantee health. If I went 95% into Bitcoin, I might end up pretty well, and maybe you will, but nobody knew that 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and nobody knows that tomorrow because SEC, government could still walk in and wipe it all away. Bitcoin could get hacked tomorrow. Like, that's a possibility. It might not. Like Michael Saylor and fucking all these other, crypto heads might freak out. Might not. But a little bit matters, and these are evergreen principles. And last thing is, everything we do here, I try and use that philosophy. Is this an evergreen principle? Does this principle work in all sectors of life? If not, I toss it. That's kind of my core philosophy. If it's evergreen, it can be implemented anywhere. And we could take these evergreen principles and we could put it into finance, into relationship, into fighting, into nutrition, and it works in every one of them. If it doesn't work in one, it does not work in all. Toss it and focus on what works.
I got to say that this by far is the shittiest fight ever. This is worse than Mike Tyson's last fight.
Yeah. Well, fuck Mike Tyson, by the way. I have no respect to that dude. Bipolar. And people get mad when I say that. I'm like, yeah. Would you want your wife or your daughter near that motherfucker? How do you respect that dude? Because he can throw or take a punch? What's that? No.
Yeah, probably not.
No. And I've been around enough fighters in the fight game to know I don't give a fuck what you do inside the ring. That's cool. It's who you are outside of the ring that matters. And again, all this is my core philosophy. Like, you are invited to my home anytime, sit down, eat dinner with my family. That's the way I judge people. If you're not invited to my home, like, dude, I don't want anything to fucking do with you. I don't care how smart you might be. Get the fuck out. I don't want you living in my neighborhood. Right? That's kind of the relationship. Do I trust my kids around you? If not, I don't want to be near you. I don't want to have business with you. Get the fuck out of here.
I love it. Where can people find you?
Go to thedolcediet.com or Stronger. Go to strongersupplements.com. Check out, see what we have over there. You can actually sign up for the Dolce Diet through Stronger Supplements. That's stronger, baby. Strongersupplements.com. Check out what we have if it makes sense to you. Give us a try. Full money back guarantee. I mean, it's all good stuff. Otherwise, Instagram, right? At the Dolce Diet on Instagram. Hit me up. Hopefully, let me know if you disagree with me. That's cool. We can chat about it. If you want to troll me, I'm fucking used to that. I will troll you back, though. I'll fucking troll you right back. I'm going to fucking check out your images. I'm going to look at your fat wife and your fucking unhealthy kids, and I'm going to call your shit out. If you try and call me out on health and fitness, I'm going to call your ass out, so be careful.
All right, man. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, Mike.
Mark, I love you, brother. I appreciate you, my friend.